Hi everyone, this is Sarfraz from Aristotle Prep, and we are looking at question 103 from the OG 13 Critical Reasoning chapter. The stimulus says, for a trade embargo against a particular country to succeed. Now, before we go ahead, a lot of students stop here and wonder what is an embargo. Even if you don't know what's an embargo, keep reading. By the time you finish the argument, you will be able to understand what is an embargo. So don't worry about it. For a trade embargo against a particular country to succeed, a high degree of both international accord and ability to prevent goods from entering or leaving that country must be sustained. So it says there are two conditions which have to be fulfilled for a trade embargo against a particular country to succeed. Then it says a total blockade of Patria's ports is necessary to an embargo, but such an action would be likely to cause international discord over the embargo. So, okay, it's a pretty straightforward stimulus which is talking about an embargo. By now, ideally students would have figured out that embargo is something like a trade sanction or a restriction. But even if you don't know that, it should not make any difference to you getting the answer right. Because all it says is there are two conditions which have to be satisfied for an embargo to be successful. And it goes on to say that in the case of Patria, the moment you satisfy one condition, which is a total blockade of Patria's port, which will prevent goods from entering or leaving Patria, the moment you satisfy that condition, what happens? There is international discord. So the other condition, which is international accord, that cannot be fulfilled. That is the way to understand this argument. Very few students understand this stimulus like this, but if you understand it like this, you will easily be able to get to the answer. It's a very, very difficult stimulus because mostly students get the answer wrong. So let's go through the options now, and it's an inference question. It says the claims above most strongly support which of the following conclusions. So what can you infer from this particular stimulus? That's the question. A says the balance of opinion is likely to favor Patria in the event of a blockade. We know that in the event of a blockade, there will be international discord, but whether the balance will favor Patria or not, we have no idea. B says, as long as international opinion is unanimously against Patria, a trade embargo is likely to succeed. Keep in mind, there are two conditions which have to be satisfied for an embargo to succeed. One is international accord or high degree of international accord, and the other is the blockade. B only talks about one of those conditions, which is international accord. What about the other condition? Unless we know something about the other condition, we can't conclude that the embargo will succeed. So which is why B goes out. It's a very popular answer, by the way, but it's out. C says a naval blockade of Patria's ports would ensure that no goods enter or leave Patria. That is the objective of a blockade, but that's not the inference from the entire stimulus. D says any trade embargo against Patria would be likely to fail at some time. Perfect. You see, the way we understood the stimulus is there are two conditions which have to be satisfied. In the case of Patria, the moment you satisfy one condition, the other cannot be satisfied. Which means, can you ever have an embargo? You can't, because you can't satisfy the two conditions. That is what D says, that any trade embargo against Patria will most likely fail at some time. And it uses very good language, likely. It doesn't say will definitely fail. So that's also a good thing about the correct answer to an inference question. We always try to avoid extreme options. So D is definitely the answer to the question. E says, for a blockade of Patria's ports to be successful, international opinion must be unanimous. Now see, the argument says we need a high degree of international accord, but we don't need unanimity. So that is why E cannot be inferred. International opinion doesn't have to be unanimous. Even if 95% people agree, that's a high degree of accord. So that is why E goes out. So the answer is D. As I said, it's a tough question. Most students struggle with it. I would give it a difficulty rating of a 4 or a 4.5 out of 5. Have a nice day.